morning. Happy 4th of July weekend. I have two special guests today. It's Joe with Acappella Podcast. We're talking about group homes today, otherwise known as residential care homes. So we have two of the best and experts in residential care homes. I've got Brian Levy. He is on the management team at Manchester Place. He's also with Cambridge Caregivers. And then I also have Kris Klein, who is with Senior Living Specialist. It's one of the top placement services in Dallas. She is on the executive team. Combo, we have a great team today. And what I love about my guests today is they truly care about the best interest of our DFW seniors. So we're talking today about group homes. So let's start right away. Brian, tell me about Manchester Place.
So much to tell. Manchester Place started 11 years ago. We have 4 boutique assisted living care homes that are custom purpose built. So a lot of homes in Dallas have been converted with Jack and Jill bathrooms. We built our homes from ground up. So the homes actually look like just a mansion in a neighborhood, but when you get inside, there's 8 private suites with bedroom, bathroom attached. So 8 master bedrooms in a big house. 2 full-time CNA caregivers on duty 24/7. So it's a 24-hour operation.
And you do have nurse supervision.
We have a nurse on staff, we have a doctor on staff, and we have a director of life enrichment on staff who does one-on-one activities with the residents.
And that's wonderful. That's something that is very unique and a great selling point. And I have been to your homes many times, and they are incredible. The care is wonderful. I also have Kris Klein, and Kris you work with Manchester Place. You are placing clients that are interested in group homes, assisted livings. So tell me, let's talk just when you're looking for a group home, tell me how you fit in. How do you guys work together?
Well, a lot of times when a loved one is being discharged from the hospital, from rehab, or a family has been searching online and they're trying to find help, they're trying to find answers, so they come to us or they get referred to us as Senior Living Specialists. And we do a full discovery with the family to really work with them and develop a relationship to help determine their best needs based on care, based on geographic location and budget. And of course, we work with Manchester Place. They're one of our top homes. It's an incredible organization. I've been in the homes. They're beautiful. I've seen the ensuite bathrooms, and it's a really, really great group to work with. So when we are helping the family, since our team has been in the communities and been in these homes, we can paint that picture with them and really get them to trust the process. So we do have a really strong relationship with all of the partners that we have across the Metroplex.
Well, I want to talk about, I know people have their loved ones that they need to find care for them. They cannot afford round-the-clock care, or they just can't do it. They've got adult children, they've got their parents, and it's that sandwich generation. And, I have this conversation so many times. Nobody says, when I turn 80, if I have dementia, please put me in a nursing home.
Right.
I think I've done that by now.
Yeah. We got that
know.
plan in place.
So you want to have the conversation. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. Let's face it, nobody does. We all have that image of the nursing home. I was a candy striper when I was in high school.
Wow.
And at church, my family, we would go visit nursing homes on Sundays. And so I always had this.
I'll bet half of your audience doesn't know what a candy striper is.
Yeah,
I love that they have
I do too,
your uniform is up in the office.
Yeah,
really?
we do. And I learned a lot just really young
Sure.
about the importance of just being there and being present and listening and talking and singing. And I loved being a candy striper. But anyway, looking for a group home. And I want to use my own example. I shared with you guys, my dad was 86, never saved a dime. I'm very open about my situation with my dad. Wonderful guy, but just never good with money. We were in a situation we had to put him somewhere fast. He was at my house for 3 weeks, ordered me around like I was
the help.
12 years old. I was the help. And then went to my sister's, and within 3 days, she's like, I cannot do that. He'd wake us up all hours of the night, got his days and nights mixed up, wanted a glass of wine at 2 in the morning, can't get this bottle open, on and on. So we found, we were pressed, siblings all put money in together and needed to find something. So it was a social worker that recommended this group home to us. We moved my dad in. It looked great on the surface, on the outside. People were pleasant. It was not licensed, but it was supposedly, we got a good recommendation from a social worker. So I assume it's going to be okay. Next thing we know, they have sold my father's Social Security number. Doctors are being charged. He's been put on hospice and not appropriate for hospice. The list goes on and on. So looking back, and here I am, a healthcare professional, and I was duped. My sister's a healthcare professional. She's an RN. So just having the value in hindsight, had I worked with senior living specialists, had I made calls to you, Brian, and said, you know what, I would love my dad to be at Manchester Place, but we just can't afford that. Who would you recommend? So, right.
Yeah.
So
so many resources available that you shouldn't go in blind anywhere.
No, I did, and I just assumed. So I'm one that, I'm preaching to the choir. We should have done our homework, even if it meant, dad is discharging from the hospital. You got 2 days, and you got to figure it out. So tell me, Kris, I know they're licensed group homes like Manchester Place. There are a lot of licensed, but they're also unlicensed. And what is the criteria, unlicensed versus licensed? And I know there are some good unlicensed group homes. If we can talk about that.
Your unlicensed homes across the Metroplex, I'd say there's an estimated 35%, roughly, that are potentially unlicensed. Maybe that's their future goal, or they're in the process of it. Some of them, that is not their goal, so they care for 3 people. I think there's a state limitation on the amount of people that they can care for, or with some of the housing ordinances. There's a limitation to that. But a lot of the ones that we work with, we'll go, we tour them, we vet them. We work so closely with the families that their feedback is crucial. So we have the penalty box, and if someone is not providing the appropriate care, if a family's having issues, then we won't work with them. So we're very careful with it. And to the social worker that had referred the home to you, they're really limited. Their caseload and everything is so heavy that it's not really their fault. So we work really hard to keep those relationships with the social workers, that they know that they can rely on us and trust us. And we have 2 full-time social workers as well on our team. So we really try to take the most ethical approach to do the best thing for the family based on their needs. And licensed or unlicensed, the licensed ones are amazing. They can still mess up. No one's perfect. But the licensed homes are great for long-term care insurance policies and for really following all those state regulations like the larger communities. We definitely try to stick with them whenever possible.
They vet their clients so thoroughly that by the time they get to us, it's almost an automatic move-in. They know their care plan. They know their budget. They know our skill set. And they know the needs of this prospect, and they know exactly where they need to be.
And so what do you do? Like, you've got, say, someone has a patient or their mother is on hospice, but they just cannot take care of her anymore at home. It's just too exhausting. So do you accept residents that are on hospice?
We do, and I'll tell you, probably 50% of our residents currently are on hospice. There's different criteria for hospice, and we actually have residents that go off of hospice. We are not, by any stretch of the imagination, respite care, but we do cater to very high acuity residents that have very, very high care needs. We have a triplegic resident, we have nonverbal residents, very high care needs.
So let me ask you this. So I know you have these homes, y'all have had them for a long time. What is the longest length of stay you've had with a resident?
Wow, great question. I don't even know if I shouldn't say her name. She was so sweet. She was with us about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and we still have our first employee, Erin, who's director of life enrichment, was our first. So she's been there 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this one particular lady, she lived in our Spring Valley location from the beginning, and she was a staple. She was the mayor.
Well, when I was a hospice nurse many years ago, there were only a few group homes that I knew of, and I always thought, I want to do this. I would love to have a residential care home. I tried it. I love private duty. It's my thing, but group homes are hard.
I often have people say, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." My friends in San Antonio, I want to open one of these. What's your best advice? I'm like, don't do it.
I know.
Don't do it. On a personal note, you're asking about residents. My grandmother was one of the first residents at Manchester.
Wow.
Before I knew the owners, our kids are friends. That's kind of how we know each other. But my grandmother, I mean, for 4 years, I spent a lot of time in that house at St. Michael's.
So let me ask you, how are you handling COVID and family members wanting to see their loved ones?
Is this on? Where do I begin? Go ahead. You start first.
Oh goodness, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Can we tour? Can we go see them? And we're finding, we work with everyone. We love the big communities. They're great partners with us. It has seemed lately, and I went back and looked at some of the families that I've helped over the last few months, just myself, and there's been quite a trend with working with more of the residential care home settings due to the ability for the infection control procedures. I think everyone has their protocols, and the state has also, and the CDC guidelines have also given mandates for those licensed facilities as well. But the great thing is that those smaller environments have been able to really do an outstanding job on infection control and work really closely and customize all of the interaction with the families. It's been quite a blessing.
Knock on wood, COVID-free. Dr. Newcomer, our staff doctor, and our staff director of nursing, Sandy Greenberg, have locked up our homes. They won't let the owners in. They won't let me in. No vendors, no hospice, no home health. They're doing it all.
Wow.
So kudos to them. Sandy
is
is round the clock.
impressive.
I mean, she's done everything from comfort care, doing teledoc with hospice companies, to end of life, to doing it all.
Wow.
It's remarkable.
Amazing. Wow, that's great.
But you got to scramble, and it hit fast. But like Kris said, we're not doing tours right now. That's kind of what the internet's for. So Sandy was at one of the houses the other day, and she did a FaceTime tour with the family, which isn't uncommon because we have families that live not just out of state but out of country. So we're used to dealing with families on a technical basis in terms of FaceTime and stuff. This is just a different level.
So you
We-
are moving people in right now.
As of, what's today, 2 weeks ago, yesterday, we just started entertaining the idea of case-by-case basis. I mean, the criteria is real high, but yes, we will consider move-ins right now.
Well, and that's where we work together, because Cambridge Caregivers, I know, Brian, you and I have been friends, and when I have a question on a regulation or just something going on in the community, or I can't staff, or you're a great resource.
But that's the beauty of this community, and it is a business, but at the end of the day, it's a community. And when you can work that closely with friendly competitors, which I'm friends with other care home owners, other PAS company owners, I mean, it's a big city, but it's a small world. And
Well-
when you're so focused on the families and the care, it doesn't, it crosses over so fluidly that it doesn't matter. It's about them. And quite frankly, we stay full so often that we have wait lists where I can refer people to other homes, or just straight back to Kris to say, this is an amazing family, they need some guidance.
Well, and I feel like, the old, if you build it, they will come. If you provide the right care,
Yeah.
you're gonna get referrals. It's word of mouth, but if you do the right thing, and we have a lot of patients right now leaving the hospital, they don't want to go to rehab, they want to go home. So we're getting a big demand for private nurses, and that's a good alternative is private caregivers like Cambridge, Acappella, while we're in that transition.
It is in its transition, and I can't tell you how many calls I get a day from people, converting their living room or their dining room into mom's room for a month, or somebody rented a condo the other day for us to have caregivers go in that condo with mom in between. So people are getting creative, and fortunately, some people have more money than others, and so they can do those things. But there is this discharge, now what feeling of mom's coming home, where's she going? So we're just very, very cautious.
Well, and we just have to be adaptable too. Nobody planned for COVID to hit.
Right.
Nobody planned for a pandemic. And I will say, hats off to the senior community. You guys, we're all doing the best we can and working hard, and it's really about those seniors and keeping them healthy.
Absolutely, and there's no playbook. I mean, no one said, "Oh, turn to chapter 17. This is where this fits in."
No.
We're making it up as we go, and I'm fortunate that we have a doctor on staff who's on staff at UT Southwestern, and their plans are very thorough. So we're up to date on all of the do's and don'ts.
Okay, and I want to get back to licensed versus non-licensed. And in private duty, we have surveyors, and we have somebody that may just show up in our office. They say, give us a list of patients, and
That's such a nice term. We call them auditors.
Yeah.
You call them what you want, but here's our file cabinet.
I call them, sir, I'm a nurse. They're
Yes,
surveyors.
exactly. No, that's an audit.
So do group homes have those auditors or surveyors? Do they just show up at the door, or do they make an appointment?
An appointment. I'm so sure you're kidding. This is the appointment. It's fire marshal. It's a budsman's. We have a whole list of checks and balances. Yeah.
Okay, so with your larger homes, with your higher census, I know there was something I learned when I was interested in a group home was making sure you could get everybody out.
An evacuation plan.
Yeah, kind of like the fire drill at schools.
Exactly.
So what do you do? Not just, do you have a plan? If there's a fire, you can get your residents out.
So our St. Michael's location, 3 doors down, is gone from the tornado. So imagine,
Wow.
3 doors. So we are type B small, is what our license is under, type B small. And I didn't know this until you know it, but that means the residents cannot self-evacuate. Hence 2 full-time on duty, 24/7 awake. Some care homes have 1 on duty at night or 1 on duty at night asleep, just in case. Everybody does it differently. I know ours are awake, and that's one of the main purposes.
Yeah, because you want to be able to get them out. Well, in the tornado, we had a private duty patient that passed away. He was right in that area in his own home, passed away, funeral home came, family left. An hour later, his house was demolished completely right at Royal and Preston area. It was very scary. We were so fortunate that lives were not spared, a lot of destruction.
Knock on wood. We're so fortunate. And we're also fortunate all of our homes have backup generators.
Yeah.
So we're the only one in that neighborhood with power for a long, long time.
So, okay, we're going to go to Kris. So, Kris, you've got a family that has very little resources. They say, Kris, my dad has $1,500 a month through Social Security. I'm going to pitch in $500 a month. Can you help me find a safe place that you would send your loved one? What do you say to that?
We can. We work with a lot of that because a lot of people haven't saved, and a lot of the baby boomers coming up, they spent. It was a different mentality. So there's a huge population that doesn't have the resources, and now they're looking at, this is my Social Security income. I'm coming out of rehab, and I was just told I can't live alone. So we do have several options. They're not always, say, in the metro Dallas area, but they're in the surrounding areas. But we do have several options that are even kind of starting under $2,000, but you get 24/7 care, medication management. We can get them to a quality a quality home to get good care, and that would keep them out of having to go into a Medicaid potential bed in a nursing home if they were to qualify for that medically.
Right.
Because they also have to meet medical necessity for that, and not everyone does. So educating the families on what's available in that crunch time, that crisis time, is really important on our end, so that they feel comfortable with the direction that we're able to send
Well,
them.
and clarify too, Medicare does not pay for custodial care. It does not pay for a group home. It does not pay for assisted living.
And Joe, I was looking, we contract with more options than any other placement firm does around the Metroplex. And I was looking in our system, less than 5% of the private care homes are Medicaid accessible, that they'll accept it. Less than 5%. So when telling a family, a lot of them, it's their first rodeo. It's their first experience. Their heads are exploding with information. And they thought that, well, they have Medicare or they have Medicaid. That's going to pay for it, right? There's insurance. Right. So telling them that, no, that's living expense. And that living expense isn't going to get paid for by insurance unless you have a long-term care policy. So educating them on that, in that sticker shock, and kind of going through, I mean, the options are limited, and Medicare doesn't pay for living.
You mentioned long-term care policy. We have a resident who's been with us well over a year now, and the son, and they've been, the son recently found their long-term care insurance policy, and they're going to back pay him for.
Oh, that's
so,
great.
It is not uncommon for a spouse to not even know that the other spouse purchased it and kept it in a drawer.
Wow.
So, found money.
If everybody had those policies, it would be just
long-term
such a
care
simpler
insurance
world.
is like found money, and when it works, it works. But you've got it. It's almost like you need a manager just to stay on it. You know what it's like working with them.
And it would have to be licensed. So the long-term care policy,
The home has to be
some of the
their
older
credentials. They actually
policies.
say nursing home.
They do, yeah.
The language is so old. There wasn't a care home back in 1940 or whatever. The policies are really written, and it's a little bit of elder abuse when the elder person tries to go claim, and it's like the fax machine goes straight to the trash can. It's a full-time job just to stay on and get reimbursed.
Oh, it is, but they have to because of the fraud. It has to be legit when they're paying out those claims.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question that I have because we've had resident clients that can't afford private duty anymore, and so they want to go to a group home, but they are super difficult. So
seems to be
the
our
client or
specialty.
the family?
Good
The
question.
client.
Great question.
And family.
Yeah.
So what do you do if it's a client that is such a nightmare? And I'm talking calls, caregivers' names, insulting, combative. What do you do about that client? Are there some that you just can't help, or just honestly, what is a family member to do if their dad is just a nightmare? I mean, we're just going to say it.
A noticeable amount of those situations. And working with the family, I've had families not share those details, and their loved one gets moved right back out because they're not a fit. But when they do share those details, then we have the ability to be upfront with the homes that we're working with and say, before we send their information and get that going, can this be a fit for your clients and your families that are in that house? For the other families that you're working with, this is what we're looking at. We have to have those really difficult conversations up front, and we do try to dig to get as much of that information as possible. There are options, and there are communities, and there are care homes that are more geared towards some special behavior needs.
Yeah.
Some of them are all male or all female, with all male or all female, gender care staff as well. So we have a variety of options. There's usually something that we've got. It might not always be 5 minutes down the road, though.
There are options.
And so, Brian, have you ever had people that you've had to say, this is
Some
not-
horror
Better watch how you
stories,
answer that
right?
way.
I know. Talk to my lawyer. Chris,
Without
it's funny.
mentioning
Chris and I were
names.
just talking about this earlier. you vet the families as much as you do the prospect.
Most definitely.
And, half the battle is just working with families. There are a lot of helicopter kids, and we know they love their parents, and we love their parents too. But, just because the drawer was left open or we forgot to brush mom's hair, it doesn't mean we don't love her and don't care about her. But just because you saw that on the camera once, it's not a common thing. But we try to vet the families. Sometimes I've had cases where residents will move in not knowing that they have behavior issues, and Kelly, Dr. Newcomer, is great with medication and knowing whether it's a UTI or their meds just need to be adjusted. We are not big medicators. We don't want zombies just sleeping on the couch.
Definitely.
But sometimes, when they get out of a rehab or a hospital or another AL or an IL, whatever, the meds aren't even right. They haven't seen a doctor in so long. And so we work with, having 8 residents in each home, we have the ability to slow down and deal with each family one-on-one. We do a lot of care plan meetings, like every couple of months as care plans change. But yes, families and residents.
I know. It's a dual thing, us too. And we try to explain. Sometimes I'll say to families that we just cannot meet their needs. And I'll just say, you know what, I am so very sorry, but I don't think Acappella is the right fit for you. And like us, we are guests in people's homes, but people are guests in your homes too. And so
you would think they would be, some families would be a little bit more appreciative and, wanting to give and thank you so much and thank you so much. But, they're losing control, and, we meet them where they are.
I know. So
we have had in the history of Manchester, we have had to evict one resident. And it was heartbreaking because this gentleman was, I'm telling you, he was a good man. But the family impeded our ability to care for him. So it became a license issue where we couldn't do it. We tried and tried and tried. We didn't just evict him immediately, but it got to that point, and it was sad, and we all cried. But we still have to do our job.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So if people want to have information, Kris, how can we reach you?
I'm pretty visible, but the Senior Living Specialist website, so seniorlivingspecialist.com, has an About tab, and our whole team is on there. So you can read the bios of social workers, all of our contact information. My cell phone is 972-551-9369. So text, call. We're pretty easy to find. And I know that, we've always been a big supporter of care homes. I know that our owner and founder, Paul Markowitz, when he founded the company 12 years ago for his own mother, actually she lived in one of the care homes that we work with in Dallas for the last few years of her life. So we're big supporters as well, along with all of our big community partners too, of course.
But it's sometimes it's just the right fit to be in a home. So,
Exactly.
And it's the best fit.
Yeah.
And Brian, how can we reach you if we want more information on
Kris and I
Manchester?
we're probably the most accessible people in the industry. We're 24/7.
visible.
So you're right, exactly. Our website, manchesterliving.com. I'm always available 24/7 on my cell phone, 214-649-9922.
Well, in fact, when I called you about being a guest, you always answer on the first ring. I feel so honored.
In his hand.
You should be. It's kind of a joke. People say I return text before they hit send. But my phone it's always on me.
But
And
you know
I don't
what?
turn
We're
it off.
like an ER. We're always open because
When you
there are
think
always
about
needs.
the people that call us are typically adult kids of elder people, right? Well, when are they available to deal with their parents? Nights and weekends. I mean, we have pictures of each other.
Or 7 a.m.
Or 7 a.m.
We get those too.
on a boat with a fishing rod and a phone or a mountaintop. I mean, but we're always working. So if you hear a waterfall in the background, that's
Don't
why.
mind it, it's
yeah,
fine.
give her that. yeah.
We say on our team, crisis doesn't have 9 to 5 hours.
No, it
Discharge
doesn't.
planners don't have Monday through Friday. There are discharges that happen on a Saturday night, and we've got to get somebody into a facility. I mean, you've got to be available, and if you're not, they're going to call someone else. They might get into the wrong hands.
Exactly, and that's the thing is, in my mind, they're going to call someone else. It's kind of like a plumber.
Oh,
There's a
it's
list. They've been
true.
given a list by a referral source somewhere, and you're on that list for a reason. Answer your phone.
Well, I have to share this. When I first started Acappella, I always answer the phone. It's just me. I just want to succeed. And anyway, there was a political candidate that has given millions of dollars to several of the hospitals in town. When he was discharging from the hospital, his daughter, that he gave millions to, his daughter was given a list of agencies, and 5 o'clock on Friday. And we were the 8th on the list, and I was the only one that answered the phone.
There you go.
And so it just showed, it was like 5:05 on a Friday.
Yep.
And that was a great client for us. We took care of him for many years.
You know, people always say, "Oh, I don't answer my phone if it's an unknown caller." Well, that's our world. So
I
imagine
know.
every call
Every
gets
number
answered.
is-
Every number's
is unknown.
Right.
Well, and it stresses me out if I'm on the phone with a client and somebody's calling and I don't know who it is.
Oh,
'Cause
cold
then I'm
sweats.
like, okay.
Oh, yeah, immediately. I'm like, I can end this call. Yeah, no, I want the next one.
But this
yeah,
is
I
why
want to
you-
help everybody.
You're the
Yeah.
best in the business.
Well,
So
we love what we do.
Yeah, and that's the difference. And you can tell, that you love what you do and you have passion. And so I thank you so much. Y'all have been awesome guests.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much,
And
Joe.
I want
We
to do
love working
one
with you
more
guys.
shout out. You've both helped. We talked about the Medicaid nursing homes, and those people have so little. We do have a pajama drive coming up for
That's right.
Grandparents
Yes.
Day, September the 13th. And I know both of your companies have helped with us with pajamas. And thank you so much. If somebody wants to be able to help these people in need, just donating new pajamas is wonderful. It's a community effort that we do. And I've had calls from other states. People want to do the pajamas for seniors, which is so
Yeah.
exciting. We've got Girl Scouts involved and different organizations. So there's always a way to make a difference.
Do you have a website or somewhere?
We
where you
do.
can-
It's pajamasforseniors.org or info@pajamasforseniors.
And are you still doing drop off at your office?
We're still doing
We're
drop
still
off.
doing drop. You're
I
welcome to
usually
drop
do
them off.
the Fort Worth location.
Yeah,
I'll
and
go
we
down to
do in
Tarrant.
Fort Worth too. So if you're listening to this and want to help and just hear the needs of these seniors, any of us are a great resource for those, and we'll get them into the right hands.
Every pair of pigeons matters.
Yeah,
It's a big
does.
drive.
yeah,
It
yeah,
does.
very
It
cool.
Definitely
does.
does.
So thank you so much. Have a great 4th.
Thank you.
Be
You too.
blessed and stay safe and stay healthy.
We got
So
it.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Yeah, we got it.
Got 'em.
Jarrell,
Thanks, Joe.
Mass, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Oh, we're great.